Hi, friends. Okay, it's the morning after the reading by Ken, uh, who many of you have heard is the distance healer that I use. And I know I made a recording yesterday. I think it was after I spoke with him. I don't know. It has completely left my memory. That's just how I live. I'm so in now that it pushes out any room that there might be for the past in the present. So, if I repeat myself, oh well. I was tempted to go and listen to that before I made this, but that's kind of violating the sanctity of what I'm doing here, which is just being real with you in the now. And so it is what it is. And if I repeat myself, oh well, some will call me a fool, and they're welcome to do that. We all have differing perspectives on things. And for each one of us, the perspective that we currently hold is what's working. And so, you've got to honor that. And besides, let people live their own lives. Okay, it being the morning after, there's a woodpecker out there, and you don't see them so often. It's funny, they're called red-bellied woodpeckers, but you don't see their belly when they're at the feeder. You just see the red on the back of their head. But the red-headed woodpecker, his whole head is red. These guys just have a big red splotch on the back of their head and their neck, and they're lovely. Tough guys, too. The other ones don't mess with them. Okay, where was I? Where am I? Good question. I'm in a better space. I think that's what's coming to you here. It's been a long, rough haul. I mean, last year was pretty challenging. This year's been off the charts, at least for me. And it's like it ramped up month after month after month, each one somehow more intense than the last. And so here it is, August. And I finally got a break. I've got a peephole, a window through the veil here or something. And so I'm not going to worry about repeating myself. And so this will be a whole complete video unto itself instead of a follow-on. Ken said that he couldn't work on me. He couldn't do anything by way of healing because the energy was too supercharged. He said, your body, it's just off the charts. It's more than 10 times what I've ever seen there before. And I said, why? I'm not doing anything. I mean, literally not doing anything, but not doing anything by way of exerting will to try to accomplish this or that or healing. I mean, aside from showing up at my acupuncture appointments, that's about the extent of it. It's even been really hard when it comes to eating because of not having an appetite. And it's such a chore, and it's gotten horrible, such that it reminds me, now I'm not going there with you, okay? But it reminds me of back when this body had lymphoma. And it was all I could do to get my nutrition by drinking those Ensure drinks that have way too many ingredients in them to be healthy. There's an ice cream out there, Breyers, Breyers, I think it is, that only has like 3 ingredients. You've got something pure when you're looking at something like that. I think there are some breads that are like that too, just very few ingredients. They're just trying to deliver what the thing is without all the additives and all the rest of it. Anyway, so simplicity, seeing through the veil. Ken shared with me that it's not anything I'm doing. It's where we all are right now. We've been talking about the 1221 portal, if you will, that the Mayans recognized so long ago, thousands of years ago, ahead of time. And we've been talking about the Great Shift and the changes to the DNA and all the various things that we sense, that we feel are going on. But this last 30 days for me has been a real demonstration of that, of what it feels like to be so stripped down to nothing, to not even, even to losing much of the sense of identity of who and what I thought I was, and feeling lost. Nothing stable or steady to reach out and grasp onto, not even my own, shall we say, divinity or divine nature, because that's here. So that's what would be doing the grasping, and that doesn't make any sense, now does it? And it's been rough. He helped me put it into perspective by saying, he called it the corner of the galaxy that we're in right now, that we're going through. Energetically, is this different from where we've been? Thus the elevation in energy. And those that are receptive to it are taking more of it on than those that are not. And apparently, I don't want to say it results in, but another thing going on is the peeling of the onion, the stripping away of the layers and levels of the false identity. And it's not so much that it's going away, it's just that our ability to see it as real is what's going away. And we're seeing through it. And we're realizing, oh my God, it's not real. It's just a game that I'm playing. That's the part that I'm playing. Oh, isn't that interesting? And to have a better contact with the real you. No, you've always had you've never, ever lost one iota of contact with the real you. It's just that it hasn't been seen because we've been living to a greater or lesser extent in the false persona, in the personality, in the part that we've been playing. And we took it for real at some point along the way. And so, it's like living in mind versus living in heart. It's really, really different. And so, I know, absolutely know, that I'm not alone in this. It just shocked me so much for him to say, Teresa, I couldn't add any energy because you already have almost too much. And I couldn't do anything useful in taking anything away either. I had to just leave it be. And so our deal is, his intuition is awesome. And he's just going to be watching and tuning in for when a time comes that he can successfully work with me. Perhaps I'm needing to integrate more of this energy first. Anyway, the backwards world, huh? Feeling loss of energy, feeling like I have no energy, nothing, and being told you have so much energy, it's ridiculous, it's off the charts. Okay, we're talking about different kinds of energy, the physical energy to get up and motivate and to want to do things and to tackle projects and, drive, versus the spiritual, if you will, energy that we're picking up from cosmos on this leg of our journey through. But it was, it's just backwards enough to make sense. These days, I really suspect something if it makes perfect mind sense. If it's backwards, that works. Paradox, I think, is a higher understanding or a better perspective to take than anything strictly 3D, which for a lot of us, it just won't satisfy anymore. It isn't enough. We know that's not where it's at. That's not where we're at. And I feel good for the first time in a while, which isn't to say there isn't still the feeling that I was calling lostness. That's still here, only I don't see it the same way now. What he said made perfect sense as far as, and he said something really beautiful too. We were talking about this, how the self can be seen as if it's a sphere or a bubble or a droplet in the vastness of cosmos. And as the bubble grows and increases in its knowledge of, I'm going to say higher self, because I'm talking about the reality here that's well up above the 3D. So as we're more present, and so there's an expansion of our awareness of, I'll call it the true identity. Come on, folks, these are words. Don't get lost in them. Be in your heart. As that expands, and then we've got the vastness of the unknown, which is the sea in which the bubble floats, or the drop, or whatever. He said at one and the same time, the perimeter, the circumference of the bubble increases. There's more of it in direct contact with the unknown at the same time. And so there's the beauty of the balance there, the increase of the unknown along with the known. I'm more than ever in support of living a thoughtless life, of mind not being in charge, but being that which we use for appropriate tasks, 3D sorts of things, analysis, calculation, decision making. The mind can be useful, but I'm all for the empty cup. I'm all for knowing that we don't really know. In the vastness of all that is, there's something infinitely deep in this not knowing. There's a fullness that's so vast, but the only way in is by letting go and letting go. And most humans are unwilling at some level to do that. They don't want to do that. They think they'll miss out on something. They don't realize that's the mind. And so until we've stepped back enough, we have enough breathing room between us and our mind. That's the relationship that's gotten out of whack here. It's between us and our own mind. I think everything else is in pretty darn good shape. Actually, everything's perfect. It always is. It always was. But that's very, very dependent on what perspective you choose to take as you're looking at it. Such as your perspective before you die, and then your perspective from the other side when you're having an NDE or even a really deep OBE. And it's so vastly different as to seem as if it's not even the same person, it's not the same reality, it's not the same cosmos even. It is. But it's coming much closer face to face with the paradox of this is true, but this is also true. And guess what? They're both true and at the same time. And so much doesn't make sense in 3D terms that does to this deeper inner self, to heart, if you will. I don't even know what I think of heart at this point, because now that's not separate from anything. That's not separate from who and what I am. It's like I've been trying to get across about being love and being compassion and being that so fully that there's not an objective possible, because there's no objects, there's only that. Those in heart will get it. I have to be content with that. Okay, I've gone so deep now. Let me see if I can kind of, well, let me see where it goes from here. Oh, the 12D want to pipe up. Okay, so be it. Welcome, my friends. Teresa Ann, we are so very glad to greet you in this wise. We are so very glad to see you have crossed the latest hurdle and another layer and level of the veil has dropped for you. You are indeed that bubble floating in the great unknown. We would like to remind you and all that you are also the unknown. You are not just the bubble. The bubble is far, far closer to your true identity, if you will. But do not lose sight of the selfness there in the void. For that too is self. Yes, we see that this throws you a bit. You were getting comfortable with an idea. Again, be fluid, be flexible, be ready to release them immediately in the now, when the next and the next and the next inspiration or intuition appear. This is your finest hour. It can be for all of you. You have the greatest potential now. You have brought the greatest of the elements of the true self to the fore, so many of you. And the energy of cosmos is now here in support of the dropping of the veils. This is happening everywhere. It is just as misunderstood elsewhere as it was by you when you were sensing, instead of this overabundance of the spiritual energy, you were sensing an emptiness, a lack. In the presence of great fullness, the feeling of lack. Again, these are the sensings that you're letting go of, that you have the breathing space to release and to see that this is the personality. You are right, you will not lose the personality in this trek. It's a tool, rather like mine, closer to the heart of you perhaps, but a tool. It's your part in the play, which you have carefully scripted with the help of those whom you now call the invisibles. They are not invisible, only if you think they are. It is time to begin seeing them, my dear. Yes, we know you have prayed for this and you have deeply desired to take that next step that would put you in a clearer, closer proximity, seemingly, to those you are already vitally close to. And so, indeed, the age of miracles is not far off. You will not be calling them miracles. This will be the regular, the normal of your new state, which is indeed very old. You are regrouping now. Major adjustments in identity are underway for all of those flexible and fluid enough to flow with it. And so this we suggest to all of those deeply desiring awakening. It is not something you put on, it is very much something you are taking off. You are releasing, that brings on the awakening that you so desire. Friends and family, you are and have always been awake. The outer persona will not see this, but pay that no mind. That is not you. And so, we see that many of you are making the adjustment even now. Call to your soul family, your spiritual guides, for their added support in this. Make your requests. Even if you make them silently, they will be heard. Do not forget this very vital use of free will. Call out for what you feel you need. And be sensitive for the return current. Know that your prayers are immediately answered. It is on you to make way for the answer. It is there for you. Oftentimes it must come in steps and stages due to the persona, the personality, the outer self, and the various belief structures that are there. Yes, in the way, if you will. It depends on how we look at it. It was not at all in the way of making the perfection that is and has been your life so far. And though you may not see it as perfect, now we say, step out of mind, if you will. Enter the bubble. of your interior reality, your greater reality, and look again and see what the vista looks like from that perspective. It is a time for being very flexible indeed, even flowing with your perspectives. When you are all that is, you have simply every possible perspective available to you. If you choose to stay in one track, that is your choice. And you live with it and with the consequences of that. Gather the breathing room that you need, family of light, to stretch your wings out. Many of you are in very cramped circumstances, not realizing that you are the drawer and the designer and the implementer of that. You have no idea how much you are loved. Mother Earth holds you in such a tender embrace. We will share with you, for instance, that Teresa Ann wasn't going to speak about. She has a bit of a rickety vehicle, her car. Windows stuck partly open. The mice have chewed through the wires in the electrical system. So the only ones she has control of anymore are the sunroof and the driver's window. She doesn't complain. And it's very hot. It's been in the neighborhood of the high 90s where she lives, where the body resides. And so there was a doctor's appointment for the acupuncture on Monday. She made the trip, very, very hot. But Teresa Ann loves to drive. It puts her immediately within, in meditation, in contemplation, in prayer, in joy, in communion. And so, the journey, the appointment, and there is evidence of the benefits of the treatments. She had to go home. She wanted to stop at the store and pick up just a very few things. The weather was very threatening. It looked like heaven and earth were going to unload from the sky. Would she make it? What would the drive be like? Should she stop? She didn't worry. Every bit of the way home, with her goodies in the car, she was intimately aware of Gaia's response to her, of how the temperature was cooled off, of how the parts of the road that she was traveling were not being heavily rained upon. Just before her, just behind her, things let loose. Where she was, it was very gentle. Oh, and she had the great fun of discovering that you can drive in a rainstorm with the sunroof open and it does not come in the car. She had such fun with that. She was so intimately aware of being looked after. Now, also on this day, she'd received a phone call that Office Depot was delivering a little lamp she had ordered, and she would be out, and she was hoping. No, she wasn't hoping. She knew. She knew that Mother Earth had seen to that as well, and that there was not the pouring upon it or upon her that was all around. She was aware that this was very personal. It was the immensity of the love in action, the interchange. that the misery of the great heat had been relieved. In so many ways, she was aware that these were not coincidences. Family of light, get rid of the whole concept of coincidence, of luck, of chance. They have no truth in them. None at all. You are all coming to be aware that what goes on around you is you and is the dance of the love of God for your soul. See it for yourself. You know me, I had already forgotten about that. But yes, I think I was almost in tears at times at my awareness of how things were being so tenderly taken care of for my comfort. Life isn't what we think it is. Change your thought, change your whole experience of life. Talk to you again soon.